All right. What's up, killers? Good morning. What's going on, CF? Let's see. Today is February 5th. What's up, Siegfried? And we've got a ton of news going on. Helium has been releasing a bunch of bangers, but we will start kind of top of the hops with Anekoy. Let's see if I can get myself a little bit out of the way here. So I was just listening to their AMA. They've got a bunch of cool stuff going on as well. So they announced that reward splitting is coming. They're releasing that soon. They also announced that they did a demo of the swapping bonos for data credits. That was pretty cool. And then Daniel is cruising around to a bunch of different events, showing the flag. Always important for the founder to be doing that. And then a bunch of super nerdy updates for N-Trip clients. What's up, Kevin? We got an exciting day here with my new shirt, but we'll talk about that in a minute. In Anyone news, they've just been doing a ton of building. I think I forgot to drop the link in there. Joey's, I don't know where Joey is. He's not here this week. I know he told me last week he wasn't gonna be here, but I forgot to ask where he went. I know that some of the folks on the foundation side went down to a Solana event in Mexico City, so maybe he's with them, but I'm not sure. Let's see. Tons of building in Anyone news. They've been doing dashboard testing. I've been watching their dashboard working. It is not working perfectly yet, but that's totally fine. I don't expect any of these projects to be perfect all the way through. I know that the Anyone team is throwing a ton of resources at it, and if you look at their Git, you can see that they're doing consistent and rapid improvements. No, Solana Apex, Mexico City, 7th of February. Yeah. And I talked to some of the Siegfried. I talked to some of the folks in on the foundation side, and that's what they were doing. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So that's the Anyone news. Let's see the big Helium stuff across the ecosystem. I think we can start with Helium Mobile, which has been most of the stuff, and maybe. Shit, I've got to do their updated logo there. So let's see. The big news is there's like 4 big newses. The free 3 GB plan. If you need I think I've heard you need a code, so I put mine in there. I don't really give a shit about these affiliate or referral things. And there are, I'm sure, people who it's going to make more difference. So if anyone has a code and you want to share it, put it in the chat. Make sure that folks have access to it. And I also saw when I looked at this referral thing that I've got like 3 uses left. So if it doesn't work for you and you're watching this later, check down in the chat if anyone else dropped their code in here. So pretty cool. Joe, you're thinking of using Anyone clients to DDoS your own firewalls. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could do whatever you want there. The free plan cuts off at 3 gigs for Helium Mobile. I thought might be pretty cool to use for some IoT stuff. So back in the day when we all had the remote off-grid Helium hotspots, this would have been super useful. I still have at least 1 up, maybe 2. So maybe I'll switch my stuff out there. I know for a long time I've been planning to hike out to the Hare on El Cajon Mountain and update that thing with the new antenna. Not a LoRaWAN antenna, but the antenna connecting it to the cell tower. So maybe I'll replace the Helium SIM with that thing while I'm out there. Helium Plus announced. So Joe, I'm sure you know a ton about this, but this is enabling Helium Mobile on your existing Wi-Fi network. Joey and I have talked about that in the past. And then, of course, the return to HNT. I logged in and saw that my hotspots are now earning HNT, which is cool. I haven't paid attention to, and I probably missed the boat on whether or not I should swap my IoT and mobile for HNT. Don't ask me. I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do myself. Thank you, 619. So make sure, use any of these codes that you see down there for signing up. These are going to be super helpful for folks. And I know we only all have so many codes to hang out. Let's see. The last piece of Helium news is not the mobile side. I guess it's just the general Helium side, was that the IoT working group voted to approve a grant that I put in for the Medio Scientific podcast. So I give a presentation on Monday. They voted to approve that. So I'll be starting up this MetSci podcast that covers the business of LoRaWAN. So very different, almost completely divorced from DePIN. So just focusing solely on being a resource for the LoRaWAN ecosystem, which is what really got me into Helium in the first place, was finding out about this thing called LoRa, looking for lost paragliders. It's sidetracked for 4-5 years now. Now I'm finally back to going and doing that thing that I'd originally gotten into building. Let's see, Hivemapper news. I know Ariel and I just missed each other. You still believe? Cool. Yeah, they're shipping bees. I don't know, 619, have you gotten yours? I haven't seen that you posted about it. I have seen that RL says that they're shipping. I know you were super upset that you hadn't gotten yours, so I'd be psyched to hear that you got yours, or at least you got a shipping notification. But yeah, they're shipping. That's super cool. Hardware is super hard. I get it that it took them a long time. I know it's super frustrating. DIMO news, they always have a ton of news, so I just kind of focused on the biggest thing, which is their coverage in a click piece. And apparently, I don't have a Tesla, so I'm not sure. I do have an electric car. I've got a little Golf, electric Golf, e-Golf. I think they only released them for a couple of years as a SOP to California's requirement that every major car manufacturer had to send in electric cars. So Volkswagen did it, and then as soon as they had met the requirement, they stopped. So turns out it's a semi-rare car, although I don't think it's like a semi-rare valuable car. In any event, DIMO has this thing for Teslas that you can check and see if your battery is covered with a click. What's up, D. Vasilino? And hopefully I'm saying that right. Oh, you haven't. Oh, you guys canceled your B order, and the HDC is earning better. Oh, okay. Cool. So that's the news in DIMO. In WingBits, I dropped a video earlier this week when I did my install. My hardware came in. I think I waited on a couple days because there's something about waiting until February 1st. And then I either got impatient or February 1st came. I don't remember which. And I installed them and then did a video on it. Frankly, I don't think I needed to do a video, but it was just kind of fun to do. And it's been a long time since I did any filming. And so as long as you can screw the thing in and copy paste, if you're running a BYOD, bring your own, whatever it was, station. Just super, super easy to do. And it worked almost right away. I think I had to do one extra step. I had to update all the whatever software firmware stuff that was in there. I hadn't, oh, cool. I got it right. I guess I hadn't updated my software for a while. I thought I had, but whatever. It ended up working, ended up being pretty darn easy to do. In Spexi news, they just continued to open up new Spexigons in new cities. So I think, what was it, Phoenix? They launched Phoenix, and then Denver and Sacramento are launching tomorrow. So if you're a drone pilot in Phoenix, Denver, or Sacramento, you can launch there. It's funny, I was at a retirement party and talking to a lady there who is just getting into real estate photography. And I was like, hey, have you heard of Spexi? And she's like, no, what's that? And I told her about it. She's like, wow, that sounds awesome. So I can see, despite, I think the hesitation there was like, oh, there's crypto involved. But I think with the current general climate, we may see that did I fix my mic, Travis? I don't know. I think, yeah, hopefully I fixed it. I turned down the gain a little bit and maybe that fixed the hum. But, yeah, so it was cool to see like a normal person was open to the idea. And like I said, with the current administration, maybe we'll see that crypto in general gets brought a little bit more into the mainstream. Over in, let's see, what's my next thing? WeatherXM. Yep. So these guys, they did the huge transition from, basically they were going from Nova Labs console over to Lone Star tracking, over to Tommy's console, because Lone Star had bought the Nova Labs basically lower on business. That was, I expected it to be I can't say a shit show, but just to be complicated and complex. And it was. Guys at WeatherXM, or guys and girls at WeatherXM, are super good, but there's still some snags. As far as I know, there's been downtime during the transition. I think, well, that was expected for me. And then reward distribution has been postponed until it's fixed. So if you're not seeing rewards in your WeatherXM station, I don't know, because I never check rewards. I just check the weather. So I know it's crazy, right? Just wait, and like everything else in crypto, you'll get your back pay in general. Let's see. Do I think the usage we see for Lone Star on Helium is real? I saw this was addressed, Siegfried, in the working group call really briefly, but I don't know. Like I look at, hopefully, it is real, and I wouldn't be surprised. And maybe what happened, then this is just me guessing here because I haven't paid a ton of attention to this, is that you're seeing the WeatherXM devices, because they all ran on Nova's piece, transitioning over to Lone Star. That would be my guess if I had to make a guess. So that's what's going on in Helium land. And then let's see, what else have I got for Wi-Fi DABA? They announced their official Telegram community. Look, I think that's really cool. It's good for these groups to have, to kind of meet the community where they are, and certainly a lot of the crypto communities on Telegram. I'll put this disclaimer on there, and this applies not just to DABA, but to every single thing. Be super careful getting into the right Telegram group. Be super careful in Telegram with scammers. I've personally lost a metric shitload of money by getting scammed. It was me being an idiot. It wasn't Telegram's fault. It certainly wasn't Wi-Fi DABA's fault. But just be ultra, ultra careful on Telegram groups. Yeah. So I think a couple examples just to highlight this is you'll see a similar Telegram group pop up almost certainly that whatever theirs is called, if it's called like DABA official, this thing will be called DABA official with one F or DABA _ official or whatever. Like it will look almost exactly the same. It will look like it has action in there. You'll get in there, you'll ask for help. Someone will DM you and be like, oh, hey, we're doing a quick bridge over to whatever. We just need you to do this. They'll ask you to enter your 12 words and good night, Irene. So me personally, I generally stay off Telegram unless it's like one-to-one stuff with people I know. So if I meet people at conferences, DePIN events, all that stuff, and we exchange telegrams, I'm happy doing that stuff. But in general, I try not to get any of my news or not to deal with any of these groups on Telegram, just because I personally have been an idiot and lost a shitload. So definitely once burned, 6 times shy on that one. Let's see. So the MetSci news, we talked a little bit about. MetSci got a grant. You're going to see a new podcast stand up. You'll see a lot more action over on the MetSci YouTube and podcasting in general. I think this is only, what is it? Is the word tangentially related to DePIN in that it's mostly focused on, or the LoRaWAN stuff for Helium is obviously focused on a crypto project, so it's a DePIN piece. But the intent there is to stake a claim for LoRaWAN in general and then make sure it's backed by Helium so that Helium gets some notice. I recently did a giant write-up using ChatGPT's new pro deep research piece on the LoRaWAN industry, and then I went through and made sure all the links were correct and fact-checked a couple things, got a couple things wrong. If you want a primer on the LoRaWAN industry in general, so history, I think 2009 until present, who are the big players, who are the big businesses, all that stuff, that's there. And I want to say that link is down in the description under the Global LoRaWAN Industry Primer. That's on the MetSci site. That's pretty cool. And then the last thing that I've got today, ooh, shit, did I put it in here? I don't think I did. Stand by. I've got the shirt on, but let me see if I can find the thing, Kevin. I was rushing so hard to get this thing ready that I forgot to actually drag the background in here. So give me a second. I'll put my glasses on. Not using Deep Spy. What's Deep Spy? Oh, the DeepSeek. No, and I was talking to a couple of my buddies today on this and saying like, oh, I'm super worried about it because I think I'm going to get hacked or there's going to be a backdoor. And they're like, don't be an idiot. You can't be, there's no backdoor in a model, or that would be super impressive that you download. So if you're running the thing locally, and I'm going to go get a primer on this from one of them later today, there's not really a problem with that. And I think this is one of those things where you got to look at this stuff and say, how much do I know and how much is my fear dictating my decisions versus my actual knowledge? And in that case, I was pretty worried about DeepSeek and I was just letting fear dictate my personal decision. I was like, I'm not going to touch that thing. And then I talked to a couple buddies and they're like, yeah, just run it locally and you'll be fine. So I will re-download DeepSeek R1 because I downloaded it and I was like, holy shit, it's going to hack my whole system. And I ended up wiping the whole, all of Monstra because I was going to put Proxmox on, and then Proxmox turned out to be, frankly, way too complicated, both for me and for what I needed to do. So I wiped it again and then put it back onto just a single machine, and that was that. And I'm sure a bunch of folks are going to make fun of me for Proxmox being too complicated, but it was just a giant pain in the ass. Here's the MSED shirt. So I think we can do this. There it is. Yep. So there's the shirt. So here's the deal with these shirts is that Flywheel Systems, which does all the graphics for this show, Kevin at Flywheel, does a bunch of stuff with deploying their own miners. They're always kind of putting out raising Web3 awareness and making sure that you know more about it, and also that you have the ability to deploy with them. So if you want to work with them, you can. Link to them is down in the description, flywheel.systems. They made this shirt. So Kevin made a bunch of these shirts. He sent one out, obviously, out to me. My shirt's right here. And Joey's got his. You can see it in the picture. If you want one of these shirts, you can just buy it on Amazon. Link is down in the description to that. I'm pretty sure that's not an affiliate link. I just copied that from Kevin. Be funny if it was. I can't see how it would be an affiliate link for me. But if you want to try and win one, you can post a picture of what you do every day on Twitter, on X. Link to that is also down in the description, and Joey and I will review those, and then we'll pick a winner. And what's up, Keenan? And then get one of those shirts out to you. And I'm not sure how that works with Kevin, but that's kind of Kevin's thing. I thought that was pretty cool for him to do that. So yeah, that's it. You can buy one. You can try and win one for what you're making, and yeah, crush in that way. I think that's most of the free shirts for F-bombs. I don't think F-bombs count as making something every day. I will say, so no, I wouldn't try that. On my morning walk, I saw someone is giving away a bunch of urbanite, which is broken up concrete. It's a fancy name for it. And I've got to put a stone wall around a tree in the back garden here on the Gristle King estate, all 3,000 square feet of it. I don't know what that is in square meters, but it's small. So I'm going to go off and go grab that urbanite, chuck it in the truck, and bring it back here and build a thing today. Let's see, Goose, you may or may not know, but how is Helium going to navigate with geez, I'm going to put my glasses on for this. Who are getting hotspots into national brand restaurants? I don't know, like, how they would have to navigate that. What's the question? Going to navigate with deployers? I don't know. Like, those people are probably just going to earn more money. Enviromine, what's going on, dog? Those guys are going to earn more tokens. Maybe I'm missing the point there. I'm missing the big thing. Urbanite, yeah. That's what it's called. That's what it's called. That's what I'm calling it. Just using the term. Let's see what else is going on in DePIN land. I've got to work on getting my DIMO thing working. It's been plugged in forever. Thankfully, it has never drained my battery. I know it's drained Travis's battery a couple times. I couldn't get the thing to work. It was involved in that whole hack thing that I referenced in the top of the show. A reference when I was talking about Wi-Fi DABA. And so I just eventually unplugged it because I was like, oh, I'm not earning. I don't want to be earning for some jackwagon. I think I got a replacement one and tried to plug that in and couldn't get that to connect my wallet. I was like, forget it. Let's see. So if Nova wants to make connections as well, Goose, I'm totally missing what you're saying. I'm sure if Max was here, he would understand it. And there may be someone else that understands the question here, but how is Helium going to navigate with deployers, maybe like Nova, who are getting hotspots into national brand restaurants? I mean, I think the answer is pretty straightforward, is that if you are the owner of the hotspot that deploys into a location, you earn the tokens that hotspot generates. And it doesn't matter if it's me as a single person or Nova as a giant entity, or T-Mobile wants to buy their own hotspots. I remember during the craziness of Helium, I was talking to some folks who were super tied in with like big cellular providers, and those guys were all buying Helium hotspots on the lower end side just to see what they would do. Which DIMO do I have? I have the original AutoPi DIMO 619. I never got the macaron. I mean, I probably should have got one for the truck, but I just got one for the car. And then I clearly missed out on a ton of tokens by not getting more and putting them in early. But I just had so many different DePIN projects. I was like, okay, I'm going to get one miner from each of these projects. I'm going to test them all out. Also, at least I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. But I'm going to put these things in every single, all two of my vehicles turned out to be too big of a lift for me. So, but I know I've heard from others that they've had problems with the DIMO units draining batteries. I'm pretty sure the DIMO team has fixed that for the most part, but certainly has happened. So that's the news in DePIN. I think there's others. I'm sure there's other stuff out there. If you guys have questions about it, you can drop it in the chat. But I think one of the things that I wanted to make this show super cool is that either Joey and I are shooting the shit and having a good time talking, or we're doing DePIN stuff, or we don't have to go the full distance on these things. I know in a lot of the DePIN shows that I've seen, it's like an hour's worth of talking, and you don't need to watch an hour's worth of talking to catch up on the news for the week. And I will say, there's no secret sauce behind this. I tried using GPT Pro's deep research and tasks to say, hey, show me all the news for the last week for DePIN and for these specific projects. So I've got the same, whatever it is, 10 or 8 projects that I cover every week. And then if there's a new project that comes out that's super cool, I'll cover that as well. It didn't do a good job at that at all. It said there was no news. And clearly there's been huge banger news, at least in Helium and a lot of these other projects as well. So do you have access to GPT Pro's AI agent? Kevin, we should do a We should totally do a logo for the GPT Pro because I'm using the thing a ton. I do have access to it. I got the $200 a month plan. The operator, which is what I think you're talking about, it's cool in that you can watch it work and you can see kind of the promise of what it will be. It's slow right now and it doesn't work that well. The deep research thing is amazingly good. I've been super impressed with that. And I used it in, what did I do? I used it for the LoRaWAN industry thing, like incredibly helpful for that. I would check out the link in the description. You can read that through. That thing was almost entirely written by GPT. It made, let's see, one significant error, which was that it didn't catch that the LoRaWAN Alliances has a new CEO, Alprin something. And they had switched, transitioned from Donna, who is the old CEO. Donna Moore, I think. So that was the only thing that I caught. There might be other stuff that if you're like a total LoRaWAN industry insider, you might see some small thing. But I went through, that is a long document. I went through and checked on links for everything. And yeah, that was super good. So if you're doing research on stuff and that research is on stuff over the past couple of years and it's a part of your job, super valuable. The operator thing, it's not there yet, but you can see like where it's going to go, and you'll be able to. And I think it will end up replacing someone like me or a show like this, where you can say, hey, what happened in the next week? What's the big news? That may take a while, especially if you think about all of the experience and knowledge that I've got coming in here. Like I've been in DePIN since before it started. So it's clear to me like what's big news and what isn't news and what's bullshit news. And so I can filter it down so that you just get everything you need in the first, 15 minutes. I think it took us 19 minutes today to do everything. That probably was a little bit over. And unless you really dial in your prompt, you might end up with a bunch of junk news. I can pretty clearly see how you might automate the whole thing and put some video in there and do some whatever whisper voiceover stuff so that there'd be a decent competitor to this show. I still think we're a ways, I could be wrong, on the thing taking over entirely for that. As to whether or not you should upgrade, I wouldn't. I did it because I've got a fascination with these things. I think that this AI stuff is amazing. Bring you on and you'll answer the Helium Wi-Fi question and some details around that. Joe, DM me on Discord. I think we're still talking on there, and I'll get you a link to come on and talk about this. Yeah, for sure. If you've got the answer for that, that'd be great. I think we're on Discord together. And if we're not, then I'll know about it in a second. And that's network bits, right? Yeah, I think you're the Joe I'm thinking about. And I messaged you on Discord, so you've got it. Just confirm that, and then I will send over a link. Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be super cool. Let me sort that out. Yeah, so should you update to the GPT Pro? I think if you're fascinated by it, yes. There are other things in there that I'm seeing that I'm working with a couple buddies where there's just incredible opportunities to automate some stuff that used to take a long time, all the research stuff, whether that is so there's a couple reasons to upgrade this thing. So the research thing is one, access to O3 and just the pro level tools is another. I was talking with my mom last night. So my mom lives in Indianapolis and she reads a thing every week. She spends 30 minutes every week reading a recorded piece on what the news is on the west side of Indianapolis for the blind. So there's a radio piece for the blind that goes out and she reads them their news. And she usually does 3 to 4 hours worth of research to see like what happened in Indianapolis on the west side in the past week. And it's like, oh, this restaurant opened, this thing happened, here's this other piece. And I said, Mom, I'm pretty sure you could do that for this. Cool. Hang on, Joe. I'm sorry, I'm getting a text here. And I sent her copy link. Copied here. There you go. And then when I see it come in, I think we'll switch over to the dual. So the short version of that is that this thing took 4 minutes to do what it takes her 4 hours to do. And she said, look, there was nothing in there that I hadn't seen. But it was also, I might have to change this out for Joey. Nothing in there I hadn't seen, but there was nothing new. Like it didn't get anything new, but it basically replicated what she was able to do in 4 hours in 4 minutes. So that was pretty cool. Let me see. This will be Joe And it's still network bits, I think. I'll find out when you come on. There we go. Yeah, so I think if you're doing that stuff, super, super cool to kind of figure that out and just do like local research. Although I had to use the deep research piece to do that. I couldn't do that with task. Like the task thing didn't work for... What's up, Joe? Let me see if I can get you in here. Video source. There we go. What's up, dog?
Hey, Nick. Thanks for having me on. You guys hear me all right?
Yeah, 5x5.
My internet's being finicky today, so if I cut out of nowhere, that's why.
Cool.
Anyways, the question was, I believe, something around like how would Helium get into, they say, like small chain restaurants?
I think it was like large chain restaurants or something. I didn't understand the question, so thanks for coming
like
on.
That. So I look at this from like three prongs, right? So you have what I would call minor to business, Helium business to business, and then third party business to business. So Helium business to business, that is what you mentioned earlier. I forget the name of it. It was what they just released
just Nova
last
Labs
week.
Or something else?
They're business onboarding where you have to apply to them directly and you can onboard large businesses.
What was that called? I didn't know that. Yeah, I haven't paid attention to this. Cool.
No, you mentioned it earlier in the show. I forget what the actual name of it was.
Huh, okay. Oh, is this the Helium Plus thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Or something else, okay.
Let me look. There's a channel that discusses it. Yeah, Helium Plus.
Okay.
So that's the business perspective from Helium.
Yep.
And you have the third-party businesses, so maybe managed service providers that want to resell this, potentially convert the tokens into fiat, pay out to their customers, or people like Russ and Simon who have Wi-Fi, they're essentially a managed service provider, but you point towards them. The radius configs are pointed towards their servers, and then they integrate with Helium. And for businesses who are not friendly to crypto, they exchange a cash and they have a paid rate to them in fiat, and they make the deal. So either the businesses are negotiating directly with Helium Plus, or they're going through a third party, or you have, like I said, minors to business. So someone knows business owners, usually smaller chain, maybe larger chain.
Yeah,
but
okay.
They go, whether it's data only or they buy an official Helium branded Wi-Fi miner, then they get it set up there. I think there's a lot of value in the miner to business, as I call it, because the managed service providers are usually only interested with working with, number one, their customers. Unless it's something specific like Wi-Fi, they're usually only targeting their own customers for this. Could not all cases, but generally speaking, and a lot of times they're much larger brands. And that's what I'm seeing working in the hospitality industry and working with other managed service providers. For example, Single Digits does this. They're a massive brand. They offer AT&T offload, but it's only the biggest companies that they're turning this up for, right? That are like nationwide brands. So where the real value is for offloading this data, in my personal opinion, is with the miners to business, is the ones they can get those small locations that they just go in, give the pitch that wouldn't otherwise know about it. Does that make sense? Am I explaining this correctly?
I think so. So if I go down, there's like a coffee shop down the street, they give free Wi-Fi. I would go in there and say, oh, and I'm not sure how I would make money about that, but I would say like, hey, did you guys know that you can just open up basically make some changes in your settings and have Helium Wi-Fi and then earn crypto on that? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, that's essentially what you can do. So that's the data only portion, which is what we've been working through. But most major brands, business level brands, Ubiquity, Cisco, Meraki, Ruckus, Aruba, they support something called Hotspot 2.0. So I can kind of, how deep do you want to get into this? Because I can
tell me what's going on. It'd be good to hear.
All right. So remember back in the RevoFi days when they claimed that they were going to do this,
Yeah. I
And,
do. Yeah.
most of us didn't really believe it because the way they explained it, they did not use the Hotspot 2.0 terminology. And this was like 3.5 years ago at this point.
Yep.
Now, what Hotspot 2.0 is, it's an authentication mechanism that uses Radius. And Radius, you have AAA authentication, authorization, accounting, right? So it's
Okay.
using authentication to connect the individual for identity, and then the accounting to track the amount of traffic that's being used. And that's one of the main um, aspects of Hotspot 2.0. Essentially, there's many different use cases for Hotspot 2.0, otherwise known as Passpoint. You can use it in a corporate environment. So let's say you have 20 different offices across the U.S. and you have people who travel and you have a security policy. And the essence of it is like you don't want them to have to go ask for the Wi-Fi password at every office they travel to. They can just
Yep.
connect right to it.
Yep.
So you have them download a cert on their phone, and through that they instantly connect through Hotspot 2.0. Their
Got it.
authentic credentials
Yep.
portion of it.
Yep.
Um, so that's one particular use, and essentially that's
And this is
what
what Helium's using, like right now.
that's
Yep.
Hotspot 2.0. So
Okay.
some people call it Passpoint. Passpoint is generally the certification, Passpoint certified, the branding type of deal. But either way, it's generally the same thing. Now, within the past 2 years, we've seen a real coming of age from the Hotspot 2.0 usage, specifically from the telecom industry, from cellular carriers, where with the installation of 5G LTE, we know that you need a lot of towers densely deployed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying this, not explaining this the best, but it doesn't travel as far as like the 4G technology.
Right.
So it's harder for these cellular carriers to get enough towers in enough areas to support true 5G everywhere. And on top of that, the applications on your phones are just becoming much more data intensive,
Yep.
and that's causing much more use of the networks, and
Yep.
much more contention for, they call it airtime, but just use of those radio frequencies, right?
Sure.
So it does benefit the cellular carriers to offload this traffic where they can, but only in locations that make sense. So it's almost always going to be a business location,
Yep.
and the carriers are manually approving them, right? And there are anti-gamification that's done at the carrier level. A lot of the anti-gamification that Helium's talking about right now is around their proof of coverage for this. But since the carriers are paying, some people will say it's per gigabit, others will say it's per gigabyte. It really depends on how they're monitoring it and what the fine print says, what's really a negotiated cost per location. But if there's a way to make money off of it, someone's going to try to game the system, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So that mechanism is already in place from the carrier's perspective. Anyways, so many of you have seen it before. You go into an airport and you're like, why is my phone connecting to this, Wi-Fi? I never connected to this before. And it says AT&T Passpoint, T-Mobile Passpoint.
Yep.
And that's essentially your SIM credentials are being used to authenticate to that wireless SSID. And so, like I said, that's the authentication portion of it, and the accounting through that Radius, that aspect of Hotspot 2.0. That's taking account of how much traffic that you're using at the given time, so they can pay for that traffic being offloaded.
Yeah.
I'm not
Badass.
on the YouTube page, so I don't see any comments. But if there's questions,
I'm not seeing anything come through. Okay, so let me make sure I'm understanding. I think what you're saying is that, in general, this has been something that has been available in the industry for a while. This is now available.
I would say
Good.
there was talk about it
Okay.
about 3 years ago, but I have not really seen it be widely used since about a year ago at all. I mean, if you look, Simon on security, you might
Mhm.
see him in the comments once in a while.
Yep.
He has a open source, like he pulls a bunch of data from an open source map, and it shows all the past point networks from different deployers, and which ones Helium, XNet, AT&T, single digits. You can really dig into that information, and there's not a very large footprint. And I don't, the telecom, or I should say carriers, they didn't really start to make this available till the recent years.
Hmm.
So it's very early in its infancy, and I think the real added value from from DePIN projects that are pursuing this is that you get those small chains and mom and shop businesses locations that you can
Yep.
offload from.
Oh, cool. And those, they don't have to buy new hardware. They just say, yeah, you can use our hardware right now. Cool.
Yeah. Generally speaking, and it depends on the project, and that's something I've been working on with Helium. And there's some caveats to the way Helium wants it deployed, because there's multiple ways to do RadSec. So RadSec is radius over TLS, and it just depends on the brand if they support um, that method of, if they support RadSec to begin with, if they support that method. And when you look at stuff like Cisco and Meraki, they like their certs backwards, as opposed to everyone else, and
God
they
bless
don't
them.
like certs if certain criteria is not filled out. So that's like the hurdle. And then Nova asks them, how do we do this? And they're like, well, if you buy Cisco spaces, then we can do this and buy our licensing. And so it's not as cut and dry.
Right. Not super easy. But it sounds like Helium, at least the Helium Mobile, is kind of leading in the vanguard of this thing and saying, hey, this is how we're rolling this out. And we're using
Yeah,
not only our hardware, but we're making this available to everyone. So they're like, it seems like they're pushing the industry forward, or am I not reading that right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think at this point, they're probably really leading the pack here.
Yep.
XNet has floundered incredibly. And I won't get into it on this show, but what took place there is like
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's
just
going to make
unreal
mistakes.
to me. Um,
Oh, it looks
there's
like
Carrier One.
good. Yep.
Carrier One seems like they're getting there and they're
Cool.
competent. Wi-Fi as well. Wayru, sorry,
Weird. Yep.
Wi-Fi is Russ's company. Wayru is the other Deepin project, and I've been a little bit critical of them, but they're from
Yeah.
what I'm
But that's what
hearing,
you
they
do.
got a lot of good stuff going on there too.
Okay. Cool. So it's super helpful just to get some perspective on the whole industry and see where Helium fits into it. Are you pretty psyched about anything else that Helium has done? Like, are you psyched on this free 3G 3 GB plan? I think you're the one who's always been like, dude, you're not using gigabyte or gigabit correctly. Let me
Uh,
train you on this thing.
no, gigabyte would be correct in this instance. Like when
Yeah.
you're talking about cumulative data or data at rest or stored data, it's gigabyte. When it's data in motion, like the speed of a connection, like a handoff or whatever, it's
Oh, like per
gigabits.
second or something. Okay, cool.
Um, yeah, it's cool. I might use it.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to think where I could use it. I think I could hike something out to this mountaintop because free is free. And I think the plan I forget what the plan I'm on is, like $20 a month or something for some old IoT. What was it? Olivia Wireless or something like that was this old IoT plan that was available in 2020 or 2021 when I put it on. But yeah,
yeah. So
pretty cool
I'm
stuff.
pretty excited for it. So that's what I'll be working on this weekend.
Right on. Crush.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks, dude. Thanks for coming on. I think we'll
Yeah,
wrap
thanks
this
for
thing
having me
here.
on. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Yep. We'll see you guys later. I'm gonna, let's see. I'll go solo here. I'll take off. Thanks a ton to Joe for coming on, and I will see you guys. I think make off grids great again. What is that, Moga? Yeah. We'll we'll get there. I don't think that they're ever gonna earn like they did, but yeah, it's also been something I've been thinking about recently. Was like what is the future for DePIN miners, and was Helium this like one-off thing, or are there these other options that will be as amazing incentive-wise as Helium? And I'm not sure. But we can talk about that on another show. Ripping. Thanks a ton again to Joe for coming on. Thanks to you guys for watching. If you want to get the shirts, go check out, should be linked down in the description to post what you're doing and get that up on X and what you're making. And we'll judge those shirts and get them out to you. Rock and roll. I'll see you guys next week. I'm out.